Hey, it's Lee. Welcome to Business Problem Solved. Today, I have the great pleasure of chatting with somebody who I have met via LinkedIn and then now had conversations. And now we're going to have a recorded conversation. So, Mark Cameron, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Lee. It's nice to speak to you and not to hear your singing for once.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so I'll just elaborate on that a little bit because I like to sing happy birthday to some of my connections when LinkedIn notifies me. And what I realized when I sang to you this as you've recently celebrated your birthday is that I've not really messaged you a great deal in between both birthday messages. So maybe I need to do something different as well.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, maybe Valentine's Day next then, or Christmas. Yeah. Maybe a Christmas jingle and a video
Yeah.
of you as an elf.
You have okay. Yeah, I love that. I love that. You've just sparked an idea. I'm going to leave that there, and hopefully that I might surprise you in a few weeks' time. But anyway, enough about me and my singing on LinkedIn. Who is Mark Cameron, and how has he got to that seat today?
Who is Mark Cameron? I would say Mark Cameron is an absolute pain in the arse to people. The way I say I'm a pain in the arse is because I just question why a lot. I don't think I've ever grown out of being a child, where you're kind of asking, why mummy, why mummy, why mummy? And I progressed from my mother to my bosses to my wife to even British Gas, who I was on the phone to just now asking why. And I don't think I've been lucky enough to make a living out of it. I'm grateful to have made a living out of doing what I love. Yeah. And that's who I am. I'm a questioner.
And you said then as well that you've always questioned. So have you always questioned? Is it something that's inside, or is it something that you've learned to do?
I think it's definitely something inside. I think the reason I say it's inside because I don't just question what I see outside. I question what's inside. I question who am I? What drives me? Where do I want to go to? What am I doing wrong? Because I think it's very easy to look outwards and question why and to criticize other people. But I've always believed it starts with yourself, and you've got to be the best example of what you're questioning other people about.
Yeah, no, completely agree. So if we just talk about your journey and story just for a little bit, and how you've got to that, because health plays a part in a big part of your journey, and improvement does as well. How have you got to do what you are doing today? What's your, I guess, your life journey?
So I would say had quite a normal upbringing, normal in not a good way, I guess. Broken family, age of 5, brought up by my single parent mother, who only went to school for a couple of years and then went out to work. And she brought us up to question the value add of everything we did because we didn't have a lot of money. So, when it comes to buying things like, well, do you want this or do you want that? Do you want food or do you want a toy? And we questioned the value add. And that's how I was brought up, questioning that. I was also brought up not questioning, but the importance of working hard. So, that just become normal. Then I did my GCSEs. I dropped out of A-levels. I went to work. And I started what I would say was my journey, because I kind of said, actually, so what I want to do, I want to be like my mother. I want to work hard. I want to value the things that I have and value the things that I do. But I don't want to be lonely. My mother never remarried, and I didn't want to be like her, in that respect, because I felt sad for her because she was a mother full of love, put it all on the children and never had time for herself. And so I set this plan of, by the age of 50, I want to be in a position where I am doing what I love with people that I love. And I started my journey. So when I left college, I didn't even tell my mum that I dropped out of college and A-levels. I only did it for a term and got bored. Went and got a job, and I literally started a journey of doing computer programming to start with, then doing engineering, then doing well, I've managed the Labrooks, working the doors of clubs, being a manager in a bank, working in supermarkets, being a traffic warden. Everything, it seems very random, but to me it was all about questioning why. What am I doing? What am I enjoying? And is it bringing me closer to the goal that I've set myself? Then eventually I grew up and I got married to my wife, who I've been with for 26 years now, and I got a job at Zurich. And the reason I got a job at Zurich was because I wanted to be able to move around, just as I've enjoyed all my life, but not externally, so within a company. And I started that journey. I left being a traffic warden to get that job, took a pay cut, went to work in the sales and service team. And I remember saying to my manager, why are we doing this? And I was questioning, why are we getting all these calls? We can stop getting the calls in the first place. So I went to her and questioned. And her answer to me was, Mark, you've only been here 3 months. You haven't finished your training. Just do as you're told. And ordinarily, I'd just quit. I'd say, sod it. I don't want to be in this position. But I decided I want to do something about it. I want to fix that problem, because to me, it was disheartening. I'd had enough of managers like that. And I applied for a manager's job at Zurich. And originally, they kind of come back to me and said, you've only been here a few months. It's a couple of grades up. You don't know anything about insurance. And let's face it, I didn't join Zurich because I found insurance interesting. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It was about just creating a safe place for me and giving me a place to grow. And I said to them, why do I need to know about insurance? Why do I need to know how to handle a claim? Because it was a claims team. I said, I'm applying to be a leader of a team. And to me, a leader of a team is someone who questions why, works with experts and solves problems, puts an arm around the staff and makes them feel loved, just like I was feeling unloved by that previous manager that I'm just trying to get away from. And luckily, the chief claims officer, a guy called John Latter, gave me a chance. He gave me a chance for 6 months on a trial. And I had a lot of fun with a team who were a great team of lots of different individuals, but together we made a great team. And I was just one of those individuals with a different view on everything. And we turned the team around. We did lots of things. And then I got moved on to another team and then another team. And it was kind of like, okay, you've turned around that team. Can you do that team? Can you do that team? And then we got some consultants in who were doing like a lean review, and they came to sit in my team. And then they went back to the people above and said, Mark's done a lot of lean stuff already. We can do some things, but not that much. And so the bosses from above come back to me and said, how did you know about lean? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. They said, well, you've done this, you've done that, you've done that. I'm like, well, to me, I've just solved problems, just common sense, nothing techie, and I kind of, after that, I kind of almost got promoted without realizing into a role of head of lean and continuous improvement, which is brilliant because I was getting paid to go around and question why. Yeah. And to put an arm around staff, give them half an hour away from their desk, listen to their problems, help facilitate solutions, and then go to the managers and say, how about we try this? And I was literally doing what I loved. I couldn't believe I got a role out of it. I couldn't believe I traveled all over Europe doing it. And it was my dream job. But ultimately, after 10 years of talking to people about value add, I began to question my own value add, and I decided to leave.
Wow. And
for the last few years, I've been freelance.
How's that gone for you?
It's been good. It's been add another dimension to, I'm not a salesperson, so I'm not very good at selling my business, but luckily I think I've got some good contacts, I think, because there's not really much self-interest in my work. I'm not interested in it for my career or for the pay. I'm interested in it because I want to help people solve problems. And I think, there's a trust formula, which some people may know about, and the denominator is self-interest. and if you reduce your self-interest in the work that you do, trust grows. And I like to think that that approach has paid dividends, because I've met some great people along the way. Sometimes I've done great work for them. Sometimes I've tried my bloody hardest, but we failed. But ultimately, the trust is still there. And yeah, they've called on me, and I've done good work for them since.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that journey, Mark. I've got a couple of questions, if that's all right. When does your mother realise the I guess, how much value she has provided you?
I don't think she'll ever realise. Of course, I tell her I love her. I tell her that, you know, she's definitely, between her and my wife's been in the same job 30 years, so definitely me and her are yin and a yang. My mother is probably more like my wife, and I don't think either of them will ever understand who I am and why I do the things I do. And when I say I do the things I do, yes, not just the good things, but also the mistakes that I've made, you know, because I think that's all part of continuous improvement. Just accepting you will make mistakes, taking risks. Sometimes they're stupid risks, and sometimes they're sensible risks. But I don't think I'll ever understand, but I think she'll always be proud of where I've got to, and she will feel part of that journey with me.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why, you know, this latest contract, and, you know, not the contract just gone, but the contract before that as well, I kind of tried to prioritize my mother as much as my work. You know, I've insisted to people I work part-time, because then I can repay my mum by spending a bit more time with her. And yeah, I think she appreciates that.
Yeah, you're a man of high values and principles, aren't you? And if you make a decision, you stick to that decision as well. You've got a lot of clarity, or you come across like you've got a lot of clarity. Has that always been the case?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I think it's literally from about the age of 16, 17, I decided this is what I want to do by the time I'm 50. You know, and I've stuck with that along the way.
Yeah.
And it's it. The path has never really been defined, but the goal was always defined. And sometimes the paths resulted in dead ends, and I have to backtrack. Some of them resulted in hurdles, which I've had to overcome. But ultimately, that was the goal. And I think the goal, definitely through my mum, and also through my nan. My mother's Maltese. My nan died working her arse off right until the moment she died, but she died alone. And I kind of, you know, it's almost like, I wouldn't say, yeah, I think, you know, I wanted to be like them in the way they behave, but not in the way that they've ended.
Yeah. Wow. That's a really strong and motivational reason to have such clarity and drive to do what you're doing. I'm going to talk about you turning 50 very shortly, because you're not at 50 just yet, are you?
Next year.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that next phase shortly. But when I introduced you as well, I mentioned that health and fitness is important to you, and you've told us the journey of your career and your improvement, but also outside of work, you've been successful as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I love physical fitness. You wouldn't have thought that in my 20s when I was chronically overweight, but that went part of the job. You know, I was working on the doors of nightclubs, some pretty scummy nightclubs, and I just needed to be big and strong. So I got into powerlifting, and yeah, I could lift one hell of a lot of weight. I competed in strongman shows and all that. But then you get to your 30s and you think, Christ, this weight is now becoming stubborn. So I decided to become a bodybuilder, and I lost about 5 stone, and my second show was the British finals, and I got third in the British finals. Did that for a few years, but then quickly realized that bodybuilding, whilst on the outside you look great, on the inside your body is shot to pieces and you're not at the healthiest that you could be. Ended up getting septicemia and almost losing my arm. And that really, you know, I was sponsored at that point, and the sponsors weren't really interested in my arm. They were more interested in me doing more photo shoots. So I've kind of reprioritized my life, and I'm like, well, actually, the bodybuilding has helped me lose weight, which is healthy. It's also brings some bad points with regards to the inner self of me and my. I hate going on about mental health because I think people overuse it nowadays, but you know, my head definitely wasn't there. I remember quitting a job. I was a manager at Santander, and I was driving home in a rush because I needed to get to the gym to train, but I also needed to eat. And it was all playing in my head. And I got home and I said to my wife, I was driving home along the top of the hill coming home. I said, and I was so confused. I just felt like driving my car off the side of the road. I said, and just clearing all these problems literally just in one swoop. And she said, you're joking? I'm like, no. I said, it literally come on top of me. And she says, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to work tomorrow and quit. I said, because the bodybuilding was more important than the work at the time. But you know, it's kind of, then I realized that after not much later after that is when I got the septicemia, and I realized actually the bodybuilding wasn't really that important, but my health definitely was, mental and physical health. So the bodybuilding contributed towards that, but also had a negative effect. And so I took up running so I could maintain the weight loss. I think the problems in the head definitely got cleared because I started running at night in the, you know, outside, not in treadmills, out on the trails, and yeah, that helped. And then and it helped me definitely fix a lot of things that were going in my head at the time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, you've had one hell of a journey, haven't you? When you consider, and you're saying that, telling that story out loud now, the number of different roles that you've had on the doors, and then the severe weight loss, the body weightlifting, bodybuilding, all in, and you've got this goal and this desire that you're anchored to at the age of 50. What has kept you going, and how have you kept moving forward?
Well, I always say to people, you know, if your dreams are, you know, if you really believe in your, I wouldn't say the dreams, they're goals, because dreams are kind of intangible. Goals, I can see it, I can draw my future, it's so clear. But if your goals are in the heart, you won't give up, because you can see the benefits of those goals. You know, when you face a few problems along the way, if you keep thinking about what the goal is going to bring you, it will drag you through those hard times.
Yeah. And let's just talk about the turning the age of 50. So like you said, it's 11 and a half months away or something like that now.
Yeah.
What happens when you turn 50?
Well, you know, I want to provide a great life for my wife. My wife has been working since she left school at the same place, and that's okay. It's become a habit. It's become just part of her life. But there's many other things. She's an incredible woman. She does some great things. She's very creative. She loves growing. She loves, she's got an allotment where she grows a lot of things. She loves baking. She loves making things. And I want to give her the best second half of her life that I could possibly do. I want to move us out into somewhere where she can do what she loves, just as I have done, just as she has enabled me to do for the last 26 years since we've been together, because she's been the stable one. She's sort of kept me, you know, given me the support when I've pursued what I love. And I want to return that. So move out to the country, smaller house, bigger garden. She quits her job and she does what she loves. I've got this dream of her, you know, us living in a market town, and me, you know, when she got an allotment, I didn't tell her. I got her the allotment, and then I told her afterwards, and it scared her that she had this massive patch of land that she had to maintain, but she loved it. When we move, I'm going to get her a stall in a farmer's market, a Friday market or whatever, and I'm going to say, I don't care if you make money or if you lose money, but just demonstrate the good stuff that you do, whether it's plants, whether it's cakes. Obviously, give me a first option on the cakes.
Yeah.
But just go out and share what you love with other people.
Yeah.
And if I can continue doing what I love work-wise, that's fine. That's a bonus. But if I can't, I'll find something else.
Wow.
It'll be fine.
Well, do you see yourself as successful, Mark?
I think based on where I've come from and where I am now, without being big-headed, yeah, I am bloody successful, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm successful in what I've achieved, but also in how I've achieved it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And if you were to share a piece of advice with that 16, 17-year-old you that you said was probably one of the pivotal moments in your direction, what advice would you give yourself?
I wrote a book. I wrote a book because I used to read people's books. Sometimes I loved them, and sometimes I thought, God, that was shit.
Yeah.
You know. But then I kind of thought, well, actually, that shit book is better than the book that you've never written. You know, people always, oh, that was rubbish, that was rubbish. It's like, yeah, but you haven't even tried. You know, whether it's writing a book, or as I was saying to someone today, or whether it's even being an MP at the end of the day, right? You criticise them, it's like, okay, so I presume you're going to stand for local elections next month or next year or whatever. No chance. Well, don't criticise that person, right? Because at least they're trying. It's better than the person who's never tried. But my book, the subheading was "Never Ever Give Up," which was like Winston Churchill. And I didn't really know, you know, I didn't follow history when I was younger. I don't think nowadays I'm more interested in history because I am part of history. But back when you're younger, you think, oh, history, that's old stuff. It doesn't really matter. But I love that phrase, "Never ever give up." And I can't remember the name of the film, you know, the Churchill, I think it was just called Churchill, wasn't it, the film?
Yeah.
And when I learned about his background and where he came, you know, how he was kind of chucked in at the deep end because they almost wanted to, well, they didn't really have any other choice apart from putting him in that. He stuck to what he wanted to do and he never, ever gave up.
Wow. Well, so, I mean, what you've said so far, there's been a number of key lessons that I'm taking from the conversation. All right, so never giving up. I'm always questioning why as well. You're in a perfect role for somebody with these principles and values and driven in that way. What other advice and I guess what other words of wisdom do you have for people who want to improve business or the team or what it is that they are doing? And in fact, actually, another piece that you said as well is if you feel the goal in your heart, then you've got a greater chance of achieving it and stuff like because you feel something towards it. So there's loads of little nuggets that you've said throughout this whole conversation, which are the secrets of I guess successful life, but also successful business transformation. What advice would you give to people trying to improve their business, their team, their performance, whatever it is?
I think people get greedy and they want everything like too much too soon. And I'd say take little steps. Don't be afraid to take little steps and just try things. You know, as I said, I've never been scared of taking risks, whether it's at work or outside of work. You know, I've done a lot of mountain running around the UK. People put a lot of effort into recceing these courses, and I just go and I just give it a go. And I always say to people, as long as the risk you're going to take isn't going to harm others, and if you're working in a company, as long as it's not going to bring them to their knees, and you know, just go for it. Don't overthink. You know, think like a child. I think I wrote a blog once about thinking like a child, you know, and we just go for it and worry later. Yeah. You know, I've entered races and my wife's going, "Mark, how are we going to get there?" I'm like, no, but I'm thinking about the finishing line, Sal. I'm not thinking about how I'm going to get there. I'll fix that as it comes to it.
Yeah.
You know, that's all part of problem solving. That's all part of the excitement. You know, when I entered my first mountain race, I guess you could call it a mountain race. It was in the Peak District. It may not sound that far away. You know, I live down on the south coast of the UK. And I said to my wife, we're going to the Peak District and I'm going to run I think it was like 35-mile race across all these great areas. And she said, how are we going to get there? She goes, we've never driven further than the southeast.
Yeah.
Where are we going to stay? I'm like, no, but Sal, but look at these photographs. It looks brilliant. And we did it, you know, and since then we've kind of gone all over, you know, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Lake District, Madeira, racing all over the UK and different places around the world, just inspired by these pictures. And I guess it's a little bit like what we were talking about at the age of 17, picturing my life at 50. Obviously, back then I hadn't quite met my wife, but I had this dream of being in a position of doing what I love, not having a shitty job anymore, of a shitty boss. You know, it was all part of that dream. And yeah, I guess it's just flipped over to outside of work, and I guess the running has kind of helped me do that for sure. Definitely the traveling around the UK has driven that even harder, because I've seen all these wonderful places we can go, and I'm taking my wife along those journeys with me when we visit these places. I'm like, wouldn't it be great to live here, Sal? Wouldn't it be great to be with these types of people here, Sal? You know, and it's just, yeah, that's how it's all ended up, I think.
Yeah, I love this. I love it because, I mean, your life is a metaphor for business change, or the other way around and stuff. It's like you've got clarity on your vision, your destination, your journey. You feel something really strong to achieve that, but you're enjoying the journey as you go, not over planning it. And I think it was Steve Jobs that said, you can only join the dots looking backwards. You can't join them looking forwards. And yes, I love that. But one thing that again struck me in what you've just said is that you're a risk taker, Mark Cameron. Have you always took risks and backed yourself?
When I was younger, I used to love my BMX and just jumping off the side of God knows what and not knowing what's on the other side.
Wow.
You know, so I think I've just never, maybe it's because I've got no children, you know, I kind of think I've never really grown up. I think, you know, I like trail running because I feel like a child exploring these places. You know, I love running around mountains or even climbing mountains, because I know, even though I'm aware that there is a little bit of risk there nowadays, I still like the excitement that I felt like when I was a child. You may even call it a midlife crisis. You know, some people buy a big motorbike and go, you know, tearing along the road. It's like, yeah, I like just clambering up the side of a mountain and just bumping into the odd goat as you go along and thinking, how the hell did you get here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, going back to the clarity, I think the other thing with the clarity, I think I'm not a technical person, right? I've never overcomplicated lean. Even though I learned all the tools, I quickly diluted that into the things that I understood there. I've always, you know, I've worked in insurance on and off for the last 15, 20 years without being an insurance person. I've never underwritten a policy or really handled a claim. Never really wanted to. I've never done my CII exams because I don't want the technical side to cloud how I think, you know, and I've worked with the technical people and I kind of set out the dreams. Wouldn't it be great if the process worked like this? Like, oh, Mark, but it can't because of this, 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 and this. I'm like, okay, but what could it look like then? You know, and together we come together in the middle, I guess.
Yeah. What is your thinking process? So, because I align and support everything you're saying here. But what is the Mark Cameron thinking process, and what does lean and improvement? It's a two-part question. This, Mark, I'm asking you both at the same time, so you remember both questions and I don't have to. But what is the Mark Cameron thinking process, and what does lean mean to you?
Like what you said with Steve Jobs, think about the end. Think about what the end point is, and work backwards. You know, I say to people, like when we're doing problem solving, sometimes, you know, you design the as is, or you map the as is, you talk about the problems, talk about the options, the solutions, you design it, and then you design the to be. as a result of doing all of that. I think sometimes it's easier just to sort of scrap that and just say, what could the end picture look like? And so what's stopping us getting there, and fix those problems?
Yeah.
Because if you're going through the issues, and the options, you're probably already thinking of barriers. Whereas just paint this rosy picture, wouldn't it be great if this is how you could work? Oh yeah, that would be great. It's like, so what's stopping you? Well, quite often it's nothing. It's just fear of change sometimes.
Yeah.
When I work part-time now, right? I'm working like 3 days a week, and people go, oh, you're so lucky. And I'm like, well, I'm not lucky. I said, what's stopping you from working 3 days a week? Apart from maybe your employee, but what's stopping you moving to a better job? Well, it's fear, or it's lack of money, or it's whatever. I'm like, yeah, but they're just problems. If it's lack of money, you need all the money that you currently have. Is there things that you give up in return for a different type of life? Whether it's like, well, I guess so. But that's how I think.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't have everything. I work 3 days a week. Yes, I may lose out on some money, but I'd rather have that extra 2 days a week to myself rather than having the money to go on a nice holiday once a year.
Yeah.
What's the point? That's how I think.
Yeah. No, perfect. No, thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story, and yeah, everything that you've shared, because I think there's so much. If I listen, and when I listen back to the whole conversation, there are little bits, and I'm doing it now. I'm thinking about when you banged on your heart and you said it's about goals, but it's about feeling the goals. In here, it's about having clarity of vision and stuff like that. And back at the age of 16 and 17, you painted the picture that you wanted and to achieve at the age of 50. How did you know that was what you needed to do at that point in time as a 16, 17-year-old?
I didn't really. I just knew where I wanted to be. I didn't really know how to get there at the time. Things open up in front of you, and I just almost take them as a sign. It's like, well, take that route. These opportunities, don't overthink them. Take them, make the best of those opportunities, and as long as they're all taking you towards that goal, just take a risk and go for it. I was lucky enough to have some sort of good people when I was younger that I looked up to, and I realized that the goal that I had wasn't unachievable, and I've had them ever since. I've kind of met some great people who, and they some of them are rich and some of them aren't rich, but they all lead a similar life to where I'm heading. So I'm like, whichever route I go down, whether I make money or whether I don't make money, there's no reason why I can't get there.
Yeah.
I watched this program on BBC Scotland this week with my wife, and it was about this. I think it was like the last hermit in the UK. I think he lived on a loch in Scotland, and he came from quite a good background. But he'd given up everything when his parents. I think he went trekking around Canada. Then he came back to the UK, and then I think his parents died, and he just said, right, I'm going to walk. I'm going to follow this. I'm going to walk the length of Britain until I find somewhere that I feel like is home. And he came across this loch in the middle of nowhere with no roads. And the film started with him walking 26 miles to post a letter. And he had absolutely nothing, but he just seemed so happy. And I'm like, so it just proves that you don't need a lot of things to lead a good life. So don't put pressure on yourself that you have to have a career and you have to have money. You have to have things that you don't need to understand what you value. And it's not that much. I mean, I would have thought the last 2 years has taught a lot of people during COVID, even if you earn a lot of money, you haven't been able to spend it. And it kind of puts things into perspective. And if you haven't used the last 2 years to learn about what you value, then it's a big missing opportunity, I think.
Yeah, no, completely. I agree and resonate with a lot of what you're saying, Mark. So yeah, so thank you so much for that. And just a couple of quick questions, really. What are you having for your tea? In fact, do you call it tea or do you call it dinner?
Dinner.
Dinner. You're far posher than I am, Mark.
I'll have a cup of tea when my wife gets home at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have my dinner. We're going shopping tonight, so I'm going to live life dangerously, and whatever we see as we're going shopping, if there's something we fancy, we'll just pick it up and buy it. I don't plan things out really. To me, again, going back to value add, the bodybuilding taught me to understand the value add of what I'm eating. I analyzed everything, all the macros, carbs, protein, fats, blah, blah, blah. During the week, it's just substance, right? You just eat it. You don't really know what you're eating a lot of the time because you're chatting to your wife, you're watching TV, it's on your lap, that type of thing. So I don't really get too fussed about what I have for my dinner or tea during the week. At the weekends, it's more of an event because you can take your time to prepare it. You can smell the food in the house. You can have a bottle of wine. You can sit on the table. To me, that's a different value add. And I'm more excited about what I have at the weekend rather than what I'm going to have tonight.
Yeah.
And my wife's going to make me a pie this weekend, vegetarian pie. Yeah. I do eat meat, but not as much as probably maybe once a week nowadays. But yeah, I'm very excited about the pie this weekend.
Yeah, I love that because I mean, even just asking you what you're having for your tea tonight, it's not about the you just don't know, and you're just going to enjoy the journey, but you just know you are going to eat something.
We may even go posh. We may even go to Waitrose and see what's in the reduced aisle.
Oh, whoa, yeah, one step at a time, Mark. One step at a time.
That's how posh we are.
No, I love that, and so taking risks. Not planning, feelings, having the strength of feeling, having clarity of vision. This has come through immensely through this whole conversation, whether it is what you're having for your tea, the bodybuilding, the weightlifting, the lean, the improvement, just your life in general. It's fascinating. I could talk to you all day. One final question, if people want to know more about Mark Cameron, where would they go? What was the best place to connect with you, Mark?
Well, I guess you share this on LinkedIn, so just find me on LinkedIn. It's quite easy to find me on there. I'm always posting. I'm linked up with yourself, so they can even see me as a connection with yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on LinkedIn and you'll find me. Perfect.
Honestly, Mike, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you, to learn more about your journey and your story, and what's driven you. And I've got absolutely no doubt that when you're 50, that goal will be achieved.
I'm pretty much there already. I feel I'm pretty much there. It's just about getting my wife over the final step and finding that perfect house. Apart from that, there's nothing stopping us now.
Amazing. Honestly, fascinating individual. Enjoy whatever it is that you have for your tea tonight. And I just want to say, Mark Cameron, thanks very much again for chatting with me today.
Cheers, Lee. Been a pleasure.